get ready for this. There is a bird out there that has not touched the ground in 10 months. Not a branch, not a wire, not a rooftop, nothing. Just pure sky every single day for almost a year straight. And the wildest part, that is completely normal for this bird. That is just Tuesday. That is just life. Welcome to the world of the common swift. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you are going to look up at the sky very differently. So let us start with the big question. Why would any creature just decide, nope, ground is not for me. I live in the air now? Was there some ancient meeting where the swifts all voted? Did something go terribly wrong millions of years ago? Well, kind of. And the answer goes way deeper than you think. First, let us talk about what a common swift actually is. Because a lot of people see them zooming overhead in summer and think they are swallows. They are not. They are not even related to swallows. Common swifts are actually more closely related to hummingbirds, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. Hummingbirds are also tiny flying machines that seem like they broke the rules of nature. Swifts are about the size of a sparrow, small dark bird, long curved wings that look like little boomerangs, a short forked tail, and a tiny little beak that opens up surprisingly wide. And those wings are everything, because a swift's body was built by millions of years of evolution to do one thing and one thing only, fly. Everything else got sacrificed for that. Here is surprising fact number 1. A common swift's legs are so small and so weak that if one lands on a flat surface, it genuinely cannot take off again. It is stuck. It needs to be on a vertical surface, like a cliff face or a wall, so it can sort of fall forward into the air and get its wings going. That is why you almost never see a swift sitting on a wire like other birds. If it lands on something flat, it is in serious trouble. So the swift made a deal with evolution. Forget the legs. We are not using them anyway. And they really, truly are not using them. Scientists have tracked common swifts using tiny data loggers attached to their backs, and the results are almost unbelievable. Young swifts, when they first leave the nest, will fly continuously for up to 10 months before they land again. 10 months! Some studies suggest the only reason adult swifts land at all is to breed and nest. Everything else, and I mean everything, happens in the sky. Here is surprising fact number 2. Swifts sleep in the sky. This is real. This is not a joke. They ride thermal air currents up to really high altitudes, around 3 kilometers up, and they enter something called unihemispheric sleep. That means one half of their brain sleeps, while the other half stays awake just enough to keep them flying. Half the brain snoozes, half the brain drives. They are literally sleeping and flying at the same time. I do not know about you, but I cannot even walk and text at the same time. Now here is where it gets even more mind-blowing. Swifts also eat in the sky. They catch insects mid-flight. Tiny flies, aphids, little spiders that float on silk threads, all kinds of microscopic stuff that drifts through the air. Scientists actually have a name for this floating cloud of tiny bugs and creatures. They call it aerial plankton. Just like the ocean has plankton floating in the water, the sky has plankton floating in the air. And the swift just flies through it with its mouth open like a tiny screaming vacuum cleaner. Nature is amazing. They drink in the sky too. They skim over lakes and rivers at full speed and scoop up water in that little beak without even slowing down. They bathe in the rain. They do basically everything up there. Here is surprising fact number 3, and this one always makes people stop and go, wait, seriously? A common swift will fly around 2 million kilometers in its lifetime. 2 million. That is more than 2 trips to the moon and back. Some individuals live to be over 20 years old. So you do the math. This little bird the size of your hand racks up a distance that would take a car more than 50 years of non-stop highway driving, just cruising through the sky, eating bugs, sleeping with half its brain, living its absolute best life. But here is the real reason swifts ended up this way. And this is the part that I think is actually the most fascinating. It comes down to safety. The ground is dangerous. Think about it from a swift's perspective. Cats, foxes, rats, all kinds of predators patrol the ground. For a bird with legs too weak to run and wings that need height to function, the ground is basically a trap. So over millions and millions of years, the swifts that stayed up in the air survived. The ones that came down too often got eaten. The sky became the safest neighborhood in town. And once evolution started pushing swifts into the air full-time, everything started changing. The legs got smaller because they were not needed. The wings got longer and more curved for maximum efficiency. The eyes adapted to spot tiny insects at high speed. Even their immune systems might have adapted, because up at altitude, there are fewer germs and parasites than you find down in the dirt and the leaves and the mud. The swift did not choose the sky chose the swift. And once it did, there was no going back. Here is surprising fact number 4. When swifts do come down to nest, they are very specific about where they nest. They like high, tight spaces. Old church towers, cracks in cliffs, gaps under roof tiles, and they mate for life. Every single year, a pair of swifts will navigate back from their winter grounds all the way from sub-Saharan Africa, thousands of kilometers away, and find their way back to the exact same nest site. The same crack in the same wall. They reunite there like they made a reservation, like they had it in their calendar. 2 tiny birds who spend months flying over deserts and oceans and jungles, and they still find each other again at the same address. I do not even remember where I put my keys. Here is surprising fact number 5. And I saved this one because it is genuinely one of the coolest things in nature. When swifts are gathering materials to build their nest, they cannot exactly land and pick stuff up. So they collect everything in the air. Feathers floating on the breeze, bits of plant fluff, straw blowing in the wind. They snatch it all out of the sky mid-flight and glue it together with their own saliva. They literally build their home out of flying garbage and spit. And it works perfectly. That nest holds their eggs through wind and rain and everything. Spit and sky trash. Architectural genius. So here is where we land. Pun intended. The common swift is not some weird broken bird that forgot how to use the ground. It is a masterpiece. It is the result of millions of years of evolution saying, what if we just went all in on one idea? What if we built the perfect flying machine and never looked back? And it worked. It worked so well that swifts have been around in roughly this form for millions of years. While other species came and went, the swift just kept flying. There is something kind of beautiful about that. The swift has no interest in what is happening on the ground. No drama down there. No problems down there. Just clean air and open sky and a bug buffet and your mate waiting at the same spot every spring. That is the whole life. And honestly, that sounds pretty good. Next time you are outside on a summer evening and you see those dark little shapes screaming across the sky, making that high-pitched shrieking sound they make, just stop for a second. You are watching an animal that has not touched the ground in months. An animal that is maybe sleeping right now, with half its brain at 100 kilometers an hour. An animal that will fly the distance to the moon and back and still come home to the same tiny crack in the same old wall. That little bird up there is not just passing through. That little bird is exactly where it belongs. So, here is my question for you today, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you could spend a whole year in the air like a swift, with no need to ever land, would you do it? And where in the sky would you go?